Christ of the Covenants Session 25 诸约中的基督第25讲 Adam, the Covenant of Commencement 亚当开始之约。 Now we come to section 2 of the chapter. 我们来到本章的第二段 The word to the woman 上帝向女人所讲的话 Genesis 3:16 创世纪第3章16节圣经这样说，又对女人说，我必多多加增你怀胎的苦楚，你生产儿女必多受苦楚，你必恋慕你丈夫，你丈夫必管辖你。 The word to the woman includes both curse and blessing. 上帝向女人讲的话包含了咒诅，也包含了赐福的。The woman shall have children. 女人必定会生育孩子 which constitutes a most significant blessing. 这个是一个非常重要的福气。This beneficent word to the woman should not be understood simply in terms of an assurance of fruitfulness in a domestic setting. 上帝对女人讲这一番的赐福的话，不仅仅是上帝保证她在家里面有后代会生孩子而已。A seed will be provided for the sake of entering into conflict with the satanic seed. 上帝提供一个后裔，为了进入与撒旦的后裔的征战中。 God's promise to bless the woman relates to her role in God's redemptive program. 上帝赐福给女人的应许是与女人在上帝救赎的计划里面所扮演的角色有关的。Yet curse also is involved. 可是上帝的话也包含了咒诅。 God will multiply greatly the woman's sorrow, particularly with reference to her conception. 上帝要使女人的忧伤增多，特别是与怀孕有关的痛苦。 It is not the woman's conception itself that is being multiplied excessively. 这里特别增多的不是女人怀孕本身的痛苦。 Later, this identical phraseology is used of the blessing spoken over Abraham and his seed. 后来完全同样的字句是用在上帝赐福给亚伯拉罕他的后裔的话语里面。 Genesis 22:17 创世纪22章17节 Multiplying, I will multiply your seed. 我必赐大福给你，论子孙，我必叫你的子孙多起来。 But the woman is cursed particularly by all the various sorrows associated with her bringing children into the world. 可是上帝特别的咒诅女人，就是说他让孩子们进入了世界，这方面有很多不同的痛苦的。 The curse pronounced on the woman also affects her marital relationship toward her husband. 上帝向女人宣告的咒诅也影响到她与她的丈夫的婚姻关系。 The Lord declares, 上帝这样宣告 Unto your husband shall be your desire, and he shall rule over you. 你必恋慕你丈夫，你丈夫必管辖你。 Generally, this quote desire unquote of the woman is interpreted as a curse of excessive dependence or longing with respect to her husband. 一般来说，女人这个的恋慕的意思呢，解经家是这样理解的，是一种的咒诅，就是过分的依靠她丈夫，或者过分的对她的丈夫有所恋慕或者有所的爱慕 longing. The phrase is understood to mean that the woman lives under the curse of having her life excessively directed toward her husband. 很多解经家是这样理解的，女人呢活在一个咒诅中，就是过分的将她整个的人生是面向她的丈夫，为她而活。 However, an extensive parallelism of phraseology in the very next chapter of Genesis warrants the serious consideration of another possible interpretation. 可是当我们看到创世纪下一章第4章有着一个很详细的同样的字句的构造，那就让我们可以考虑到另外一个可能的 的解释。In this related passage， 在这个有关这段的经文呢 God warns Cain that the desire of sin shall be to dominate him。 上帝向该隐警告说罪会恋慕管辖他， But Cain must rule over sin instead。 可是该隐必须要管辖罪。 Sin crouches at the door， 罪就伏在门前。 And unto you shall be his desire, but you shall rule over it。 Genesis 4:7。 罪就伏在门前，他必恋慕你，你却要制服他。创世纪第4章第7节。 The interplay of phraseology parallels exactly the word to the woman in Genesis 3:16。 这里整个句子的构造完全与创世纪第3章16节上帝向女人讲的话是平行的。 The desire of the woman shall be to the husband, but he shall rule over her。 女人必恋慕她的丈夫，丈夫必管辖她。 Not in a sense of excessive dependent， 不是说女人要过分的依靠她的丈夫，不是的。 But in a sense of excessive determination to dominate， 乃是说有过分的决心要管辖她的丈夫。 The woman shall desire her husband， 女人要这样子恋慕她的丈夫的。 Her longing shall be to possess him, to control him, to dominate him。 女人的恋慕，她的意愿是要拥有她的丈夫，控制她，管辖她。 Just as personified sin's desire was directed toward the possession of Cain， 就等于在创世纪第4章第7节那个位格化的罪的愿望，就是要拥有该隐。 So the woman's desire shall be directed toward the possession of her husband。 同样的，女人的恋慕是要拥有她的丈夫。 The statement concerning the man's rule over the woman may not require the concept of oppressive domination。 那么上帝说男人必管辖女人，这里不一定是指一种压制性的管理。 The context strongly suggests it。 可是上下文呢，让这个意思的可能性非常的强烈。 God pronounces a curse over the woman， 上帝向女人宣告咒诅 because of a situation that arose originally from her usurpation of her husband's prerogative， 是来自她首先就抢夺了她丈夫的权利这样来犯罪。 Now it is indicated that habitually she shall display this tendency in her quote desire toward her husband。 那现在上帝指出呢，从今以后她习惯性的会这样子来恋慕她的丈夫。 But he in reaction shall quote rule unquote over her。 但是男人的回应是要管辖她的。 The curse of marital imbalance settles into the woman's lifestyle。 这里婚姻的不协调这个咒诅呢，就在女人的一生呢，人生呢，就成为定规了。 As she perpetually attempts to possess her husband, he responds by dominating excessively。 正如她不断的试图去拥有掌管她的丈夫，她的回应就是过分的来管辖他。 Section 3第3段 The word to the man， 上帝向男人讲的话。 Genesis 3:17 to 19， 创世纪第3章17到19节。又对亚当说，你既听从妻子的话，吃了我所吩咐你不可吃的那树上的果子，地必为你的缘故受咒诅，你必终身劳苦，才能从地里得吃的。地必给你长出荆棘和吉利来，你也要吃田间的菜蔬。你必汗流满面，才得糊口，直到你归了土，因为你是从土而出的，你本是尘土，人要归于尘土。The word to the man also contains curse and blessing。 上帝向男人讲的话，同样的包含了咒诅和赐福。As God introduces his covenant commitment to redeem a people to himself, he simultaneously pronounces the curses of the covenant of creation。 在上帝讲出他的约里面的承诺，要救赎他的子民的时候， 他同时宣告创造之约里面的咒诅的。The blessing is found in the fact that man will eat bread, Genesis 3:17. 上帝赐的福就是人必定有的吃，创世纪第3章第17节。The sustenance essential for maintaining life shall be provided. 上帝会让人维生，有的吃，维持他的生命的。The gracious character of these simple words must not be overlooked. 我们不可以忽略这些简单的话，世上充满着恩典。Already the curse of death hovered over man, the sinner. 上帝的咒诅已经威胁在人，因为他是罪人。He had brought the whole of creation under curse. 人已经将整个受造宇宙带进上帝的咒诅之下 ，and so deserve to die. 所以人是配死的。Yet God graciously promises to sustain life for him. 然而，上帝开恩应许要为人维持他的生命。Adequate provision of food shall maintain man. 人必定有足够的食物为生。So that God's purposes to redeem a people to himself may be realized. 好叫上帝的计划就是要为他自己救赎他的子民能够实现。This gracious provision of God characterizes the totality of human history from the first day of his announcement until the present. 上帝这样充满着恩典的安排，就是整个人类的历史，从上帝宣告这句话一直到今天，整个人类历史的特点。Jesus' reference to the God who causes his rain to fall on just and unjust testifies to the consistency of God's common grace, Matthew 5:45. 主耶稣指出，上帝让他的雨水降在好人和歹人身上，因此呢，主耶稣见证着上帝的普遍恩典的一致性。马太福音5章45节，因为他叫日头照好人也照歹人，降雨给义人也给不义的人。But curse is also involved. 可是上帝的话语也包含了咒诅。In the sweat of your face you shall eat bread, verse 19. 你必汗流满面才得糊口。第19节。The self-sustaining effort of man shall be marred by excessive labor. 人要为生，就必须经历到很辛苦的劳动。Man's curse does not reside in the requirement that he work. 上帝咒诅人不在于人必须要做工，这个不是咒诅。Labor also undergirded the creation bond between God and man. 当上帝在创造人的时候，与人所立的约也包含了劳动的。Instead, the curse of man resides in the excessive requirement of labor for the fruit produced. 不是的，上帝给人的咒诅乃是要过分的劳动，地才会出产人要吃的食物。Man's ultimate curse consigns him to the grave. 而人至终的咒诅就是指定他必定要入到坟墓中。Genesis 3:19， 创世纪3章19节。For dust you art, and unto dust shalt thou return. 因为你是从土而出的，你本是尘土，人要归于尘土。第19节。The threat of the creation covenant finds an awesome fulfillment in the dissolution of man's person. 创造之约有着它的威胁的，那现在呢，很恐怖的要实现了，就是人必定要瓦解。Adam had been created to rule the earth. 上帝创造亚当是要治理大地的。Now the earth's dust shall rule him. 现在地上的尘土要管理他。In conclusion, 我们要做下面的结论。Some aspects of this original bond between God and man in sin may be noted. 我们可以看到这个上帝原本的与人所立的约一些的层面。These points emphasize in particular the organic relation of this covenant to the entire history, which follows. 这些的特点呢，特别强调着这个约就是上帝与亚当所立的开始之约，与接着要来的整个的救赎历史间有着一个有机的生命上的关系的。First of all， 第一个层面 ，the continuing operation of the provisions of this covenant in the realm of God's common grace may be noted。我们必须要注意到，这个开始之约里面有着上帝的普遍恩典，这个是不断在运作的。If, as the unbelieving mind of man has suggested, these verses were written as a tale to explain why snakes crawl, they must have been composed by a genius indeed. 假如呢，有一些不信的人呢的想法，说这里这段的记载是用来解释为什么蛇排在地上的话，那么这段经文一定是由一个非常聪明的天才创作的。For with all the refinements of modern life, the principles laid down in these brief verses continue to characterize man's total existence. 因为虽然我们在现代社会生活有着各种的细腻的舒服，可是呢，在短短这几节里面所定下的原则，在今天仍然描述着人类人生的全部。Even today, the basic struggles of mankind involve the questions of providing bread, relieving pain, performing labor, bearing children, and dealing with the inevitability of death. 就算是今天人类基本的挣扎，就是关乎到维生、减轻痛苦、劳动、生育孩子，还有面对一个必定要来临的死亡。Secondly， 第二个层面 ，God's words to Adam foreshadow the subsequent history of redemption。上帝向亚当所讲的话，就预期着后来的救赎历史。In organic relation with all subsequent administration of the covenant of redemption, these verses anticipate both the method by which redemption is accomplished and the mystery of redemption application. 这里的约与后来救赎之约每一次的安排有着有机的关系的。创世纪第3章几节经文呢，就预期着将来救赎是如何成就的那个方法，另外就是预期着救赎的施行的奥秘。In due time， 到时候到了的时候 ，one representative man was born of woman， 一个作为代表的人要从女人而生。This single man entered into mortal conflict with Satan， 这个人单独的与撒旦进入到生死之战。Though bruised himself， 虽然他被伤了 ，he nonetheless destroyed Satan's power， 他却粉碎了撒旦的能力。By this struggle, he accomplished redemption。他透过这次的挣扎，成就了救赎了。Some men respond in faith to God's gracious provision of salvation and find deliverance from sin's corruption. Others continue in the stubbornness of their hearts as the enemies of God. 有些人对上帝提供的救恩用信心回应了，因此呢，就从罪和败坏搭救出来了。其他的人呢，他们的心仍然是刚硬的，他们仍然是上帝的敌人。Why do some men receive the gospel of Christ while others reject its saving offer？ 为什么有一些人接受了基督的福音，而其他呢拒绝那个救赎的邀请呢？ The ultimate answer to this question is found in the distinction among men made in these verses。 这个问题之中的答案就是在于这几节经文里面，在人类中间上帝所做的区分。God sovereignly sets enmity against Satan in the hearts of some。 上帝很主权的在某些人的心里面，使他们与撒旦为仇。These individuals represent the seed of the woman。 这些人就是女人的后裔。Other men continue in their fallen condition。 其他的人呢，仍然在他们堕落的状态中。These people represent the seed of Satan。 这些人就是撒旦的后裔。Progress in the history of God's program to redeem a people to himself may be traced along the line of the enmity between these two seeds。 而上帝救赎他自己的子民的计划的历史是如何进展呢？ 就是要看这两种的后裔之间为仇的冲突如何进展。Finally, 第三个层面 ，This covenant with Adam anticipates the consummation of God's purposes in redemption。这次上帝与亚当所立的约，就预期着上帝的救赎计划将来是如何完结的。Adam's requirement to labor echoes the original cultural mandate of the covenant of creation, with its charge to bring the whole earth into subjection to the glory of God。亚当必须要劳动，这个呢，就让我们想起原来的创造之约里面的文化使命。上帝吩咐人要人管理整个宇宙，制服它，来荣耀上帝。The ultimate goal of redemption will not be realized merely in a return to the pristine beginnings of the garden。上帝救赎的目标不仅仅是回到原来单纯的伊甸园的情况就成就了，不是的。A new imagery of paradise arises in Scripture。圣经里面呈现出一个新的乐园的一幅的图画。The imagery of a city 是上帝的城的那个形象。Of a hustling, bustling center of activity for the redeemed。这个繁荣的城市充满着活动，那里上帝救赎的子民要在那里居住。This glorious consummation focuses on the redemption of man in the context of his total potentialities。这个荣耀的救赎的完结的焦点就是人被救赎了，人会实现他所有的潜能。In the wholeness of a creature made in God's image, man shall be brought to redemption by realizing the fullness of the possibilities available to him。现在人身为上帝的形象，他作为上帝所造的人变成完整的人，他被救赎了，他完全实现出上帝创造他的时候给他一切的潜能。To this point, we do not see all things subjected to a man。到目前为止，我没有看到万物服在人之下。The creation in its totality has not released its full potential to the redeemed。受造的宇宙还没有完全发挥出它的潜能给被救赎的人的。Yet the hope of the future remains sealed in certainty。可是未来是有盼望的，这个盼望有确定的印证。For we do see Jesus now crowned with glory and honor。因为我们现在看到主耶稣基督有荣耀的冠冕。Seated at God's right hand, he has all things subjected to him。 Hebrews 2:8 and 9。他现在坐在上帝的右边，万物都属于他的。希伯来书第2章第8节、第9节。From his exalted position of power, he ultimately shall bring all things into the service of men who have been redeemed by him to the glory of God。 耶稣基督从他的至尊贵的全能的位置呢，至终的要将一切都要服在人的手下，就是说上帝救赎的人为了是上帝的荣耀。本章结束，我们下一次讲第7章 Chapter 7， 上帝与挪亚所立的约 Noah, the covenant of preservation。